Good morning. Hand today is going to be 7-8 of hearts. We are in the small blind. This is a 10 NL game. Going to start looking at the small blind. We're almost getting close to our 100 days of these suited connectors. So we'll see where we go from there. All right, player limps. It's to me. I ISO, and he's the only one that calls. This player is playing 62-0, and it's actually probably more than that. We can see that he limps first in. Just a huge amount of time here. 93% on the button, 90% on the cutoff. We're in basically mid position here, so we're looking at this column. His limp first in set 64%. Then his limp and call to raise 41%. I don't think he's going to be folding a whole lot. When he limps, he's playing. And where I do that, we do see there is one time where he raised first in, made a pre-flop raise, 1 out of 76, and 1 out of 64. So he's raised twice out of 429. I think that's going to be like just aces. That's about it. Maybe there's some kings in there. We do have some notes on him. We have him calling a big blind 3-bet steal with king 4 offsuit. We have him calling early position raise first in the hijack with king 6 suited. So we're looking at just a pretty big range of hands. And I did this. I guess I could add my kings too. That gets us to 60%. Aces, kings, suited queens, all of those. Minus the aces, because I do think out of all of the hands that he's raised, it's probably aces. And sure enough, when we look at our 3-bet range here, it has aces. He has it twice. So I have to go with he probably has aces when he raises. My ISO raise range looks something like this. I do have the optional range. I think he's wide enough that we go ahead and raise with all of the optional ones. So we do think we've got a middle hand. We're probably a little behind because Villain has aces, or has like his ace x hand, king x, queen x. He's got face cards that are being above us. But overall, we also have some solid hands. I mean, all of these hands figure to have better kickers on average than the villain if we both have ace x or we both have king x. So I raised, he calls. I'm not even going to adjust his range much. Flop comes out 10-3-3. Villain has a huge range. The question is he going to fold him? Is he going to fold him at all? His fold c-bet stats actually somewhat reasonable. 33% when he's in position, 78% when he's out of position. I think being out of position, he must be calling more to defend against a c-bet, whereas in position he thinks the early position c-bets are going to be stronger. I think just looking at ranges, you can see that I've got higher equity just kind of across all of my range, and I think for that it argues for c-bet here. I don't think I did that. I think I just checked. And I'm sure at that time, this is probably 2021, I was working on c-bets at that time, and I was probably thinking, well, the 10 is going to hit the calling range. I mean, it's going to be less likely that I connect. But at that point, I've got so many hands that are are better than his, that have better draws than his, and that villain has. I mean, I've got fewer hands I have to get rid of. Really is, and that's what it is, and that's what our equity graph looks like. You can see his equity, this bluish line, much lower. It's just I've got the equity advantage, so I should be c betting. Am I c betting like what kind of hands? We're talking top pair plus, easy. Let's go back to the group. We don't have like flush draws or straight draws in this case, so our value is going to probably be top pair plus, and then our draws are going to be like these 2-card backdoor flush draws. And you can see that kind of changed because we include some of our top pairs along with that. I think overcards are probably going to be thrown in there as well. Well, I mean, we already have overcards, but definitely we want our 2-card backdoor flush draw. So we're looking at the overcards with the clubs, diamonds, and spades. Hearts are not in there. And I think probably the pocket pair less than the top card. That's kind of almost like a semi-bluff here. We're trying. If villain's going to be playing a little loose, he may call with a king queen or king jack, and that's good. We're getting value from our smaller pocket pairs. So we're about even on that. So then I think it just kind of comes down to what other hands do we play. Definitely, I think probably like ace king, ace queen. I think if an ace comes out, we're gonna have the best kicker, or we figure to have the best kicker. And if an ace comes out and we bet and he calls, I would say almost guaranteed he's probably has an ace. Not almost guaranteed. He's a loose player. He can have a 10. But if we keep getting, we'll go for 3 streets of value against him because I think he'll call. Now, I think that's going to be our c-bet range, and notice that we don't have the heart. So I think my check is looking okay with this specific hand, but overall I think we should be c-betting quite a bit. Do have to pay attention. Villain has 25 big blinds left, 26 big blinds left. So know that if we are going for value, we are probably going to be planning to get it in with a 1-pair hand. So top pair plus, we're probably willing to get it in. I wouldn't like overbet, but so I think here we're probably betting on the lower side, about a 1/3 pot or so. So pot's 11, we're probably betting maybe about 4, 3.5, 4 big blinds. If he calls, our decision to continue betting just kind of depends on what that turn card is. So I check, villain checks behind. I think by missing the c-bet, that kind of gets my hand. Whoops. Make sure we exclude all of those. All right, so by checking, we narrow our range. Villain checks behind. I think that might change things. If we're going to include quads, we're going to include full house. I think we're going to include... We're going to have to scale this, maybe. I think I could have all of these hands. I think 3 of a kind might bet. Let's see his flop aggression factor. I mean, it's okay. Float 29%. Okay, so yeah, I kind of think maybe 3 of a kind, overpair, probably top pair would bet, and maybe the rest will not. We'll leave quads in a full house for slow plays. So we'll say that's his range. Turns a 3, and quite frankly, it's a really bad card. It's a really bad card. I mean, if we c-bet, we're still going to c-bet. I think we're going to c-bet our pairs, and that's about it, and probably throw in some bluffs, but we're not going to be c-betting our diamond draw. I mean, any pair is going to beat us at this point. Yeah, right? Any pair would have a full house. So I think it's appropriate for us, especially since we checked, we just go ahead and check again. Villain checks behind. I still think he's probably slow betting the quads. Yeah, but he doesn't have them because we kind of assumed if he had like ace 3, he would be betting. So he has the rest of his range, and you can see we're still ahead. I mean, just we've got a lot more stronger cards than he does. Ace clubs comes out. Question is, can we bet and get him to fold? We look at his river stats. Maybe. Call a bet 50%, call C bet 50%, call a don't 100%. You've got, folding the rest of it. Yeah, I think our shot here to kind of win it is, to kind of represent that ace, go for a little bit of value. Pot's 11, you go for 6, go for 7. 6 is a little more than half. I think that would probably be okay to go for it. And if we kind of break it down, you've got the top pair for 40%, and then you got nothing for 50, and that's probably going to be too high. So I think these kings have some showdown value. Well, at least the king X has some showdown value. So I don't think we should be betting those, but maybe the queen, like the rest of these cards, could be used as a bluff. But we probably don't have enough, and maybe we would bet all of the aces. The question is, if we bet, what hands does villain call? He's gonna call with full house, but we might also get him to call these lower pairs as well. He is a loose player. He was playing king 4 off or king 6 off. I say we go for it and hope one of these hands call. If he only has the top pair, so be it. And maybe he calls just a bluff catch too. But I think with our ace X, we go for that bet. If we split the pot, we split the pot. But we're hoping that he calls with some of these weak pairs. With my actual hand, I checked. Villain checks also. He shows king 2. We do have that in his range. See the king 2. I guess he has a lot of hands available, and basically they're all there minus the hands that I think he's going to bet. So let's get this in here. So limp first in from hijack and call 5. I'm sure it was 5 big blinds. And call. This is small blinds. 5 big blind. ISO raise with king 2 diamond. He is in position. Check, check, check on 10 of diamonds, 3 clubs, 3 spades, 3 diamonds, ace of clubs. So if I bet, do I think he's going to call this? I'd like to think that he doesn't. So perhaps we missed out on a bluff potential. And I do think we have some of those. We had the hearts because we weren't going to be betting those. We didn't have backdoor flush draw. We weren't going to c-bet those. So now our hearts, our ace X hearts, just connected top pair. I think we could have gone for a bet, and the cards that we need to kind of balance against that bet would have been a hand like 7-8. So I think we had the potential to take down the pot instead of letting villain get it. So yeah, I think that's probably the mistake that we had in this hand, is that we didn't fire that river. I kind of felt like villain had so many aces here, and he does. I mean, he does have a lot of these aces, but I felt like he had a lot of the aces and he'd never called. But if we say he's just calling with his pairs, basically full houses, you're looking at 29%. That means you're looking at 71% is he's folding, and that's a 71% that we want. That's what we would target with our bluffs, to try to get him to fold all of those hands. All of these hands are better than us. All of those king X hands are better. Queen X, Jack X, 10X, 9, or 9X. they're all better than us. We want him to fold those hands so that we could take down the pot. So I think that that's going to be our mistake, and we have to remember that villain has a wide range to begin with. That he has to get rid of those hands at some point in the hand. So we want to bet we want to take advantage of it. And I think you can see that our equity graph still stays above villain, because villain has all of these different hands. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, look tomorrow for another.